12 different colleges and universities when we started on this project to create a new lectern about 2 years ago. And we were hearing a lot of common themes. It's hard to access the technology, it's hard to hide the technology, we want ADA compliant, and all those things. So what we created was this, a height adjustable, motorized height adjustable sit-to-stand desk that's ADA compliant. It goes from 30 inches up to 50 inches, and that's not all. The odds aren't good for products that don't adapt well to change. One university told me that the average lifespan of their lecterns is about 5 years. And what happens is that the technology changes, and they end up having to adapt, whether it's breaking out the Sawzall or re-racking things and they don't have enough rack space or whatever it might be, and then recreating the lectern, they end up just buying another one. I mean, can you imagine buying a new coffee table every 5 years or a new bed every 5 years? That's why we designed in flexibility and modularity into the Heckler Lectern. So what I mean by that is this section here, which is our console insert section. And there's 3 receptacle areas about the size of a 4-gang box. And we've created interfaces for any number of technologies. So whether it's a simple interface, we've got a console insert for the Extron AAP 104. You can put in whether it's USB-C or HDMI or even back to VGA if you want. But you can configure these any way you want. So courtesy outlets, inputs, and that type of flexibility. We also have interfaces for touch panel controls. We have Crestron, we have QSys. This is the Crestron 10-inch touch panel. And then we've worked with a lot of different wireless microphone manufacturers. This is a Shure combo unit where we've got charging for body packs and handhelds. And then we also have a provision for their MX418 18-inch gooseneck mic if you're doing any voice lift. And over here, all the other manufacturers that we worked with, and that list is getting bigger and bigger. So we've got interfaces that fit into our console for Catchbox, for Sennheiser, for Audio-Technica, for Electro-Voice, also Listen Technologies, ALS receiver charger. So that list is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Just to add to the flexibility, we have these small slots here on the front cover. These are covered, or on the front console portion, these are covered right now, but they're sized for M8s, and that gives you the ability to mount. Obviously, a lot of people want monitor mounts here. You can also mount supplemental lighting if you're doing a lot of video. Some people are using these as podcasting desks, so they're adding boom microphone arms. So anything that has a grommet-style mount that fits through the top will work with it. You don't want to use the C-clamps because there's just not enough room, but there's hundreds of different monitor stands available out there that fit the Lectern. So one of the other things that we did is we wanted to add a number of rack spaces, but we also didn't want it to look like a big rack that's standing there. So under the hood, we've got 6 different rack spaces, 2, 4, and 6, and they're hidden by this front flange here, so that you can't see that there's any technology there. So that, one of the things that we got from the schools that we talked to was they didn't want anything that was tamperable or was tempting to try to rip off or tamper with. But you can also see that the room here also, beyond the area where there's rack units, there's a lot of room for strapping in non-rack friendly products like breakout boxes or power supplies, also bundling cabling. And then this Molle panel type grid that we use this on a number of our other products. It gives you a lot of passive airflow, and as well as cable pass-throughs, so you can get cables through even with connectors on them. One of the other things that we added, and this was some of the feedback that we got, is that occasionally something will go wrong when you've got a classroom full of people, and it may not require a tech to be sent all the way across campus if something's wrong. You might have to just tell the instructor, if you just power cycle all the equipment and turn it off, turn it back on, then the problem will be solved. So we left a 3-inch gap between this front flange here that hides the rack units and the rack units themselves. So they could tell an instructor and say, hey, the distro is on the lower right side. You just hit the button, turn it off, turn it back on again. Now, if you don't want anybody to access it, you can always put on security covers on the two-story rack. Now, if you've got a total of 6 rack spaces under the hood, if you've got something that's 3 rack spaces, there's a Crestron DMPS switcher that's 3 rack spaces, or if you just need more rack spaces in general, you can add this, which is an auxiliary rack that adds another 6 rack spaces. That also locks, as does the top. We use cam locks, and we key them similarly so that if you've got 13,000 of our Lecterns across campus, you only need 1 key to open it. So we use LINAK legs. If we designed motorized legs, it would have taken too long. It probably would have been too expensive. We use LINAKs. It's not just an industry standard, but I think a worldwide standard. There's a 5-year warranty. I like it because all the electronics are located in the leg, and any of the electronics that you have to access stay right in this main load-bearing beam underneath the Lectern. So it's all completely out of your way if you need a little bit of space underneath to put any more boxes that you couldn't fit on the inside. So LINAK legs comes standard with flat feet, and then casters are an option as well. There's 2 accessory points on each Lectern on either side. One, we have a combo bag and coat hook, because the last thing you want is somebody to throw their backpack on the bag and suddenly they've got a third less space. We want to keep this space open so people can work. And then over here is our cup holder, that is. And, in classic Heckler style, we looked at about 20 different vessels, from the gigantic Yeti silos to the Stanleys, to even if somebody rips off a mug from the cafeteria, it'll be able to fit. And we use a different material so it can handle any high temperatures as well. Now, one of the things that our designers put in, which I thought was just brilliant, is that if somebody can't spring for the cup holder and they put their cup up here and they have a spill, we've got trough here that will ground the liquid into it and then run it down the side, and it'll drip out onto the floor away from the electronics, which I think is a great idea. Now, our Modesty panels, in this case, this one is our frosted acrylic. We've got about 7 different Modesty panels to choose from, wood grains and flat colors. What we can do on any of our Modesty panels is put a logo, and that's been extremely popular. Corporations, colleges, universities. So the Lectern is made out of our preferred medium, which is cold rolled steel, powder coated, used for commercial use every single day, super durable. But we wanted there to be some tactile warmth on the work surface. So this desk pad is made out of furniture grade linoleum. And the beauty is that if it gets worn to the point of no return, it's field replaceable. All you do is order another one, and then it'll come out with peel and stick adhesive on it. You just drop it into place, and off you go. One of the brilliant things our designers did was that at each corner where the desk pad goes, there's a very faint right angle mark so that you know how to line it up so you get it nice and straight each time. And it comes in about 24 different colors, so a lot of flexibility from the design standpoint. Our 6U Lectern has been shipping for over a year now, and it started shipping in early 2024. This is our 4U Credenza. Same concept, but a little narrower, because again, we got some feedback from colleges, universities, corporations saying, hey, that's great for our big lecture halls. Do you have something for smaller spaces? So, probably the main difference is instead of 6 rack spaces, you've got 4 total rack spaces, so 2 and 4. And then, the same ability to manage the gear on the inside as well, all the same features. And in the console insert section, we have 2 console inserts that you can choose from, as opposed to 3 on the 6U. We call this the 4U for short. We call that the 6U.
Yeah, for smaller spaces.
But this gives you an idea of how different choices in the Modesty panels and in the color of the Lectern can really transform the look. So the 2 colors that they come in, black, gray, or white. When you look at Yeah, it looks super modern. That has been very popular with medical schools. Really clean. Looks like a spaceship landed on the stage. But then you make a few changes. You go with the black. This has an oak Modesty panel. And then we change the desk pad is our leather series. And suddenly it looks more mid-century modern. A bit more traditional if you have to match interior. So there's a lot of flexibility. Online, we have a configurator at hecklerdesign.com, and we have configurators for both the 4U and the 6U that enables you to make changes in real time. You see the change, and it's a 360 view as well. And then once you make all your decisions, I like it because it steps you through the decisions that you have to make in order.
Yeah, we work.
And once you do that, you can download a PDF, and it shows you all the SKUs that you've chosen. And that you can take to your supplier or to us or to your distributor and say, I would like a proper quote now, please quote me on this build. On the 4U, you have the option to remove the front Modesty panel and add a display. We're suggesting a 43-inch display because it looks great proportionally. It just kind of fits. But now think about the flexibility that you have in terms of maybe you're having a symposium, and you're going to have the dynamic logos of the speakers that are coming up. Maybe you can do a live language interpretation. Maybe it's just for the front row because they're so close and they can't really see what's on the big screens without craning their necks up. All that information is right here. Any of the information that you think you can, any digital signage opportunities you can put on the front here. And the beauty is you don't have to buy the Lectern one way or the other. This is an option. So at any time, you can transform your Lectern into a very informative front piece. And we do have a way to lock this down with security screws so nobody steals your display. This is our AV Credenza Mini. And the idea behind our Credenza series is that they fit under a conventionally mounted, wall-mounted display. And you put all the gear in here, so it's nice and accessible. A lot of people have been putting the gear behind the display. Maybe they double-side tape it or they zip tie it, and eventually those cables sag down over time and it looks bad. Or they put it in a box behind the display, and if something goes wrong, we have to send two people out to remove the display to get to it. The Credenza series is to keep the gear accessible, but also make it agreeable to the designers. This is the Mini, and the front panel is aluminum fabric wrapped. We have 5 different colors to choose from. Everybody chooses black, however, but the interesting part is behind the cover. So the cover removes, and we have this Molle panel design, and that accomplishes a couple different things. First off, it gives you some nice passive airflow. But the real intended purpose is so that you can wrap cables and wrap in other breakout boxes, distro, power supplies, and all the things that come along with meeting spaces, and in a nice, neat way against this panel. There's also a lock at the bottom, and it's a cam lock so that you can keep inquiring minds from taking off the cover and tampering with it. These will mount directly to a stud. We figure there's going to be, or to the wall. We figure there's going to be less data, so it's not going to weigh that much. There's a 1/4-20 mounted slot here so that you can put your all-in-ones or your cameras mounted right on that top shelf. ADA compliant and easy to install for fast deployment. This is our AV Credenza 4U. And it mounts the product neatly under a conventionally mounted display, and it gives you a place to access the gear, but it's also hidden behind a nice decorative panel. It's fabric wrapped, and we have 5 different colors to choose from. And the front removes, and this is where the fun is. It's a Molle panel design that gives you an opportunity to bundle up all the cabling and wrap in the breakout boxes and all the other tech that goes along with meeting spaces. We give you a bunch of Velcro to wrap it up, and this design is such that you can get your fingers through and easily wrap the cables. It mounts with a French cleat, and
you mount the cleat, it spans a number of studs, so it spreads the weight out. And then you can be pre-wiring this in a different room, away from all the dust, or even a different city. And once you get it back to the job site, you drop it onto the cleat, and then you tighten down these wing nuts here and here, and you're installed. So it's designed for fast deployment and ease of access for the gear. You've got 4 rack spaces, 2 and 4 on either side. And it's got a cutout for existing power and data. So it fits with power and data. You can remain 100% front of the wall if you want. You don't have to pull any wire if you don't want to, because we include cable chases that will hide any signal or power that will be going up to the display. On the top shelf portion here, you can put, as you see here, speakers and the like, but we have a camera mount. So it comes with a standard camera mount with a quarter 20 slot for single point mount. But then we also include a mount for things like the Logitech Rally Bar. And right here you've got 3 different heights to choose from when it comes to mounting that camera. So you can really dial in that lens height so you get a nice telepresence experience for people that are having conferences. There are provisions for 80mm fans here and here. There's a lot of passive airflow, but if you've got something that's cranking out some heat, you can add, we don't include the fans. Everybody has their favorites, but we can also suggest some fans for you that are nice and quiet. One thing that our designers did that I thought was really cool was there's these little standoffs on the side, 2 little L-shaped brackets on either side, on here and here. And what that does is we figure that you're going to be pre-wiring this on a work table, laying it face up. And so all those brackets do is it lifts up the Credenza so you can get your fingers through and start wrapping things easily, so you don't have to lift it up each time. Just one of those little things that our designers put in to make your life easier. There is a lock on the bottom, and it's a cam lock so that you can keep people that are curious out of the gear. And all of our cam locks are keyed similarly so that one key opens all of them regardless of how many you have installed. This is the 4U Credenza from Heckler. This is our AV wall system. Now, if you've seen our AV Credenzas, they're mounted under a display that's already mounted. Our AV wall system mounts the display. And the difference is that it takes the weight of the display and transfers it to the floor via the leg system. We can mount displays up to 105 inches, even the 21:9 aspect ratio. We can do 2 displays side by side at up to 98 inches each, which is a monstrosity of display space. Then we have a system down here. It's called our AV Meeting Hub. And this is where all the gear goes, behind this fabric wrap panel. This also comes in 5 different colors. The panel can open up like a reverse trunk so that you can have a peek in just to make sure everything's okay, but obviously it removes completely as well during the pre-wire. And it's actually height adjustable because once you get the frame in place, which is effectively a goal post, it has 2 mounting points per display. You hit a stud on either the 2 mounting points, and that is simply to keep the display from tipping forward, because otherwise all that weight is carried by the legs and down to the floor. So you can kind of see how this goal post works. Here, there's mounting point there, and then mounting point there. And then once you have that in place, if you look at the back of the legs, there's slots here. And it's designed like a pallet rack, essentially, because then this meeting kit with the shelf and where you put the rest of the gear, it just clicks into place on the back of the leg. So you have a lot of height adjustment. So based on the width of what your display is, you can actually dial in this lens really nice and get it to a particular height. And again, that's all tools. The design of the front panel It locks into place with 2 magnets, so it's easy to open and very secure to close. Options include a mount for a controller. We can mount the knee pad or the Logitech tab. And again, that clicks into place toollessly. This is our AV wall system.